Everybody, welcome back to another episode of FSI DFS Fantasy NASCAR Picks. Your host, Mega Ruler 31. We're going to do the truck series now. Did Xfinity. Oral surgery went well yesterday, so still feeling good. Even after talking through the first video, it's about 40 minutes long. So truck series, we have the regular season finale. So this is a cutoff one for the playoffs. The top 10 get in. So before we get into this, let's do just a little bit of sorting here just to try to show you what's going on. So these drivers, Majeski, Heim, Rhodes, Eckes, Enfinger, Smith, and Hosafar have all won races, and they will be in the playoffs. They are locked in. They're still playing for position in the playoffs because the better you do, the more of a lead you get starting the first round of the playoffs in order to help you advance to the second and third round of the playoffs, as they kind of have like knockout rounds and keep on cutting the field down. But the nice thing about it is whoever doesn't have the most points at the final four, it doesn't matter. It's whoever finishes the closest to first in the final race at Phoenix that wins the championship. So the points matter to get you to the final four, but after that, it doesn't matter. You could have a 2,000. Well, they do, like, you could have a 40,000 point lead, which is not possible. But anyways, you could have what seems to be an insurmountable lead going into Phoenix, and it's not like anything else where you're going to win the title. It's whoever performs the best in that said race that is going to take home the title. So we're at Richmond. We have 250 laps, so there's definitely a lot of dominated points up for grabs here. So how are the rest of these people going to fare? So we have Matt Benedetto. He's 25 points above the cut line. Sanchez, 35 points above the cut line. Crafton, 47 points above the cut line. They seem to be safe to be able to finish out the top 10, but not necessarily, because if they have any sort of trouble, then Tanner Gray, Chase Purdy, or Stuart Friesen all could potentially jump up and take that final spot. So between these six, most logically, mathematically, are going to finish out. So let's see, we've got 2, 4, 6, we got 7. So out of these, 50% of them are going to make it, and 50% are not. So this group has a lot of incentive, but this group in the yellow has a lot of incentive, if they're doing well in the race, to not push it, play it safe, play not to lose, and get knocked out of the playoffs, where these have more incentive to go for it. However, if anybody here in this section would win the race, not likely, but it could possibly happen, especially Ankrum. He's not bad race. The rest of them are average to a bit below average and don't really probably belong in the playoffs. But again, that's why they run the race, because anything could happen. And this is a race where it's not like likely that something weird would happen. You know, I think the weather's supposed to be decent, so it's not like somebody could pit out a sequence and be out there and then the rain stops the race and they're leading and then they luck box their way into the playoffs. I don't think it's going to happen that way. But these drivers do have an incentive to get up there, and if they do, one of them does win the race, then it means that this is knocked down to 5 or this gets knocked down to 2. So only 2 out of these 6 will be able to make it in with these 7. So it's 10 overall. The ones in green are locked in. These guys have the best chance so far. These ones need some help or something to happen with one of these ones to be able to take one of their spots, and they have to have a good day. And if one of these wins, then it knocks one of these out. So right now it would be Benedetto would fall below the cut line. It'd be Sanchez and Crafton. But again, there's only 10 points there, so that's pretty easy to make up. So lots can happen. All the ones with the X's here don't qualify for the playoffs. So if they win the race, they get a nice trophy. It doesn't mean absolutely nothing for playoff standings. So just wanted to kind of explain that a little bit to you. Now we'll get to the actual race. So I apologize. I search everywhere for qualifying and practice notes. it wasn't on TV. I couldn't find it on the internet or any place. Looking in the limited time I had to do the research, so I figured my time was better spent on trying to do other things. So what did I do? I looked at Richmond last year. I looked at Martinsville. I looked at Worldwide Technology. Those tracks are definitely comparable. Phoenix also, but that was so early in the season that I really didn't want to go back that far. I looked at their track style average to see how they did with that running on these like shorter, flatter tracks. This is a little bit of a tire wear track too, so it does matter. So fall off is important. So I've thrown up the top 15 in long run speed to help you kind of out with that one. So first, we have a Ty Majeski, has the pole, #1 in practice, #1 overall, and all these things. I have had Ty Majeski as a GPP so many times recently because he always qualifies well. He's kind of like, and I know Byron's won a lot of races in NASCAR, but in the Cup Series, but Byron seems to qualify well, but then like sometimes like falls back and has issues and never like really he either wins the race or he falls back. And Majeski seems to be the same thing. He always seems to qualify well, but he always seems to go backwards. But I think this, even though he's in the playoffs, because he did win one race, I do think that he is safe enough to play here. And just from what I've seen from limited notes I have in practice and qualifying, he does look like he can go out there and dominate. The only problem is Corey Heim is leading and looking to win the regular season championship. And I think that he definitely is one that can go out there and dominate this race also. So I think it all depends on who gets out there first. They're both very expensive. You want to get it right. I don't think you necessarily want to play both of them here. So I think you really want to make a choice between one of the two of these to be your primary dominators. Now, is it possible that both of them could potentially trade on and off throughout the whole race and, be in the optimal lineup? Yeah, that potential. We've seen that happen before in races like this, but you do have two other drivers that are deeper in the field that potentially could get up there and be able to take over and dominate later on in the race. And there's a bunch of guys in between that potentially could get up there and do it also, where we've seen them run well on this type of racetrack this season. So I think you really want to go with one of them. I don't think you want to go with both of them. So take your pick. Most people are probably going Majeski because you save some money. He's got the pole. He had the fastest truck. He can get out there in front. Long run speed was still in the top 15. Wasn't elite, but wasn't bad. And so if he can avoid trouble, which he should be able to stay in out front, then it should be good. But I don't think we can discount Heim. Williams Sawallich, I think we can discount. 17th in practice. He's only run a couple races. He's an ARCA guy. He's only 16 years old, so he's only allowed to race on road courses and short tracks. So he doesn't have a ton of experience, where some of the other guys in Richmond, this isn't like a drafting track or anything like that, but it is pretty it's a chrome horn or like, use your bumper type race. And I don't know if it's going to be, don't think we know enough about him. Is he going to be too aggressive? He's going to be not aggressive enough. I don't think he can hold a top 3 position. I don't think he can hold a top 5 position, maybe a top 10 position. Maybe he surprises us, but I'm just going to fade him. I just can't. I don't feel comfortable in cash or GPP playing somebody so young with so little experience starting so far forward. Ben Rhodes, a GPP here, 9th in practice, 8th in long run speed, 6 overall composite. He's already in the playoffs. Could he get out and dominate? Yes, but if I'm choosing between 10,000 guys, I'm probably going to take somebody higher or lower than him. Matt Mills jumps in. Matt Mills has been a decent driver, and he hops in the 51 truck and just looked abysmal in practice from what I've seen. But he was 14th in long run speed. But just overall, again, he hasn't had the great equipment. He does have a good truck. I don't know how to take him here. GPP, probably throw him in one lineup just for speculation, just in case. He does well, but could he get out there and lead the race? Maybe, but I just don't really see that. Now, Eckes, on the other hand, here, his average running position and all these tracks is in the top 8. He was 3rd fastest in practice. He was 1st in fall off speed. So I really like him here. And I'm really tempted to put him in my primary cash line, but there's some other guys down with better place differential that potentially could go up and lead too. So I really have to debate it, but I will have a lot of Eckes. I really think this is a decent track and situation for him. Tanner Gray, he is one of the ones that really has to get a little bit of help to try to get into the playoffs, which is kind of weird because like his brother Taylor Gray has been priced more and has actually seemed to be the better truck driver recently this season. But Tanner's still solid. There's in the Tricon garage, they didn't have a ton of speed in practice, but it's an easy race to make adjustments and figure things out. Ninth in long run speed, I kind of like that. It's good experience. Ran really well in Martinsville not too long ago here, so definitely like me some Tanner Gray. And I think again, if you just want to build a line with the three H's because they need to be a little bit aggressive, then I mean that could be a kind of a mini core for you right there. So definitely something I'm looking at. Crafton, second fastest in practice, wasn't top 15 in long run speed, so he didn't have the fall off, but his numbers overall come back at 3. He's again, I have him as GPP here because I just fear that he is the closest one on points to making it in. And I think that he's just looking to go out there and do his job. It's going to be blue collar, pack your lunch, do your job, work your 8 hours, punch out and go home type of day. And if you do that, you run a clean race and you don't make any mistakes, you make it into the playoffs, and then, let's go next week when the next round starts. I think that's how they're going to approach this race. He's a veteran. He knows what he needs to do to go out there and get to the playoffs. And then I think from there, it'll be a completely new season. Chase Purdy. Again, I really like him also. Same reason as Tanner Gray. He's in a Kyle Busch truck, 19th in practice, which is a little bit slow, but he had 5th overall in long run speed. Hasn't looked great on these short tracks, but I think that there's so much incentive here for this Kyle Busch truck to try to make the playoffs that he's going to be aggressive. They might try things on pit road. They have a decent pit team. Actually, if I was Kyle Busch, I have Matt Mills driving my number one truck, but I would take my number one team and resources and stuff and put them in Purdy's camp to try to push him over the edge there to get him into the playoffs, because I think that's what the number one priority is here too. So, look for him to have like the best of the best and the most resources here. And I think that really bodes well. So still him as a GPP, but I think, definitely could consider him in cash games, or like I said, Tanner Gray, Purdy, and Friesen, I think make a great core to start a lineup with. Also because of just the narrative around them. Matt DiBenedetto, he's the closest one, and he's the first man out if somebody weird wins this race and qualifies for a playoff that normally wouldn't. Again, I think Ankrum would be the only one that could do that, so I don't think it's logical that it's going to happen, but it's always worth mentioning. Slower in practice, 25th, had 11th in long run speed. Looked good in Martinsville, but Richmond last year was just average, so I don't think it's really I don't like him as much, but again, I think he needs to do a little bit more than be conservative like Crafton and maybe like Sanchez does. So potentially there's the danger of him just being complacent, going out there and just trying to, tick off the laps and survive in advance. But again, he might need to turn into upside mode. So I think definitely can look at him. Like if you're putting a 4th guy in that Blue H lineup with Gray, Purdy, and Friesen, I think DiBenedetto could be it with the narrative, but it's a little bit more risky with him. Curry, I don't know. I want to play him. I love him a GPP and not a fade. Like he just has looked really good out of nowhere in the truck series recently, and top 10 in practice. Didn't have long run speed. Nice truck is decent, qualified 11th in the last couple of races. He's held his own. So can he finish in the top 15? Yeah, it's a decent price. Like I wish it was a little bit less than 7-8. I'd rather take like Tanner Gray for $500, or Matt Mills like in the Kyle Busch truck, but it's definitely intriguing. So I'll probably at least put one share. Maybe I'll put like Curry and Matt Mills in the same line. So if it'll be like the ultimate like YOLO lineup there with potential to if they do really, really well unexpectedly, then I'm off to the races. And if not, then nothing ventured, nothing lost. I'll probably throw it in like the $1 tournament there just to see what's going on with that. Jake Garcia, I like also here. He's I think he's a decent cash play here, eighth fastest and ninth overall. If you look at like all the composite stuff, he really has nothing to race for because I don't think he has enough races in this season to qualify for the playoffs if he does win it. But he is racing for rookie of the year against who was it, Nicolas Sanchez. So I think definitely, we've seen some good runs out of him. So I think, at 6'8", he's a decent price. Enfinger, I think he'll be highly owned here. He's in the playoffs, 12th, but he looked really good in Richmond last year, looked really good at Worldwide Technology, and overall in this track one, a little bit of a setback at Martinsville, but overall, I think like he and Akis are kind of the same play, but you have more, I think, of higher ownership because there's more place differential potential. But he's definitely that one that can potentially get up there and lead this race and has winning upside also. Sanchez, again, really wants to get into the playoffs, so I think he's got incentive to do good. I don't know how much they'll have to hold him back. If De Benedetto gets ahead of him in points, you might have to push to get up there. Is that going to be good or bad? I don't know. I have him as a cash play because I like the seventh at the long run speed. I think you definitely can get a top 15, 9,700 is not bad. There's some place differential upside there. So somebody else to consider in cash. Zane Smith, I think, should be very chalky and a decent cash play here. He's didn't qualify well, but looked great. Second overall in long run speed, seventh overall in practice speed, fifth overall. Looked really good in Martinsville, Worldwide Technology, like always like top 10 average running position. He's not a 15th place truck. He's probably a top 5 truck here. But 11K, can you do it with like some of the other people you want to get into your lineup? So I'll let you make that decision. So definitely a cash play, definitely would be popular. Kruth is a fade here, 23rd, qualified pretty well here, but like nothing really points to him staying in the top 20 here, probably maybe the top 25 barely. So fade, he's going backwards. Hocevar, I'm going to list as a prime play here. Fifth fastest in practice, third with long run speed, fourth overall. Even though he's in the playoffs, he definitely, I think, has a shot at Haim and the regular season title with his couple of wins that he's had. So he's definitely one that wants to go for the championship and can, but also it doesn't matter. Like he's good at passing and being aggressive, and he's auditioning for Xfinity or maybe even a Cup Series ride coming up. So definitely don't see him just kind of like going around and turning off laps. I see him advancing his position, top 5, top 10, same thing as Zane Smith, but you save $1,000 here on him. And I think you get pretty much the same play with a little bit more aggressiveness. So I think they're both great plays here with Smith and Hocevar, but I really prefer Hocevar just with $1,000 saving. Daniel Dye, I think, is a decent value play here. Wasn't super fast in practice. Doesn't have really great long run speed. It's kind of risky starting in 18th here, but at 6,100, I think you can play him as GPP, as last minute, or as a value play punt. Taylor Gray, I really like here. He hasn't raced enough races to qualify even if he wins, but definitely a top 10 long run speed. Didn't have like good overall speed, but I think he's one that can definitely finish in the top 20 at 8,100 is a decent price. Dean Thomas, I think, is also another GPP player. I think he'll have medium ownership, but these Tricon garage trucks are really good trucks, and I just like the long run speed of Gray. That's why I have him as a cash over a Thompson. So, but either one, I think, if you need like some of these medium range guys to fill in, that's good. But out of all of them, my favorite one would be Ankrum, just kind of in this starting range here and in this price range. He is the one that I believe if he wins this race, will make the playoffs and be the spoiler there. 18th in overall speed, 4th in long run speed, 19th overall. watch him do some things, pit strategy, take some chances. Again, it could backfire and fail, but I think it will definitely help advance his position. I think he's one that I really, really like this 8,300. So he's a prime play. Lawless Allen, I think you can play in cash here. I know it's kind of risky starting here because Lawless Allen is usually like a, but I think he's a top 25 truck. I think he can advance a little bit here. He's 13th in practice, didn't have the long run speed, but that's fine. I don't need him to be in the top 15. I just need him to stay like in the top 20. 18th overall composite with everything considered. So if he can move up 4 points and finish 18th, I will take it at 5,200. That would probably, if that does happen, probably potentially could be in the optimal lineup. Stuart Friesen is my other prime play here. I think it'll be very chalky. Again, he needs to make up a lot of ground and do a lot of work to get into the playoffs. This is a team that wants to get into the playoffs. He's self-funded. He needs it for sponsorship and everything to be in the playoffs to keep, being successful as a small, self-owned team and not like, one of the bigger garages that have like 3, 4, 5 trucks. And 6 in long run speed. Didn't look great in regular practice speed. And yeah, I know he struggled at Martinsville, but last year Richmond was decent. Worldwide Technology was decent. 10th place overall. So I think he definitely has a top 10 truck. So I think there's definitely a lot of place differential here, and he's got a lot to race for here. Connor Jones, I like also. He was 4th overall. Didn't have the long run speed, but he had like short run speed, which was decent. So the horsepower truck, younger driver. What's the deets on him? He's actually from Virginia. So, this is kind of a home track for him. He finished 18th here last year, I believe it was. So, or 18th in Martinsville. So I think he's definitely someone to keep an eye on here at 6,500. Haley Deegan, I don't know. This could be the beginning of the end for her. Like this Thorsport truck, they've given her all the resources possible and just doesn't have the speed and just doesn't have the results this year. I was, TK and I have been cheering for her. We were just hoping that it would work out. We saw a lot of potential her first couple of years where she would make mistakes, but she'd learn from them. And she was very studious, trying to, see what other drivers would do to learn and learn and learn and just absorb like a sponge. But by this time, she should be able to apply that knowledge and be able to start get results, not just get like win a race, but just be consistently up there and someone that can be able to just be in contention. Like I don't think like Matt Dodano hasn't won a race, but like he's been up there in contention like each race this year, and I just really haven't seen that from Deegan. So we'll see what happens to her. She'll probably stay in the truck series. Might lose her ride, but I think they have a lot invested. They might give her one more year, but if not, she might end up like in a room truck with her Ford sponsorship, or maybe she'll be the primary driver of like AMN Racing or something like that. But we'll just have to see. Again, I hope it works out. Maybe things will turn around, but it just hasn't this year. Brett Holmes, I think he's going to be very popular here. 6,200, 6th fastest in practice. Didn't have long run speed, but 7th overall. If you look at everything considered with composite, he's another one. If he wins, can get into the playoffs, but I don't think that's going to happen. But I do think he's better than a 26th place truck. He should definitely get in the top 20, potentially a top 15. Colby Howard, same thing, not as high on him. I think he's more of a top 20 truck. I don't think he gets to the top 15, but at 6,600, definitely a good price tag. And Ryan Vargas, same thing. You save a little bit here, but Holmes is definitely the best of them. Then followed by Howard and Vargas, but this is a nice little range for you. Will Rogers is not a good driver. I would fade him. Definitely going to take any of those 3 I just mentioned over Will Rogers. He's a fade. Timmy Hill, I think you can make a case for Cassie 11th in practice speed here. Looked good there. Didn't have great long run speed, but 14th overall composite number, which is good compared to the other drivers. So 5,800. Again, I probably would take Holmes, Colby, or Howard over him, but I think I'd take Hill over Vargas just based on stats. Derek Lemke, first race here, cute story, promising. He had a promising start in Minnesota and then he ran out of funding. So the dude's like 30 some years old. He became the PR guy for Riem Brother Racings and focused mostly on Natalie Decker for PR stuff. And they finally, like, hey, we don't have I don't know if it was like, hey, we don't have a driver this week. And hey, you're a former driver. You did pretty good when you had a chance. And, so we just want to give you another opportunity here. He's stoked about it. His girlfriend's tweeting about it, excited about it, but I'm not super excited about it. Didn't look great in practice. He didn't race trucks before. I think he was more in Xfinity or like other style cars. So I don't know. Not super huge fan here. Spencer Boyd, again, like ultimate YOLO play here. If he can win, he can make it into the playoffs, but he's just been a truck that finishes in the 30s. Nothing super exciting here. So GPP, Mason Massey, same thing. I think these guys are like the best of the worst down here with a little bit of place differential, but you're helping for some attrition. Justin S. Carroll, like I don't understand why he's like entered this race. He's Canadian. It's not like he's from Richmond or anything. It's not like he's a great short track driver. I think just maybe there's an opportunity with Xfinity Series being out there and most of the truck drivers from Cup like have already run enough and are trying to focus on the playoffs and stuff and don't want to do double duty. So there was openings and they saw an opportunity that they knew if they just showed up to the racetrack that they would be able to get into the race. I fear it might be a start in park. Christian Rose, everybody's kind of like asking like, who is this? He's an ARCA guy. He's ran the last 2 years. His average results in ARCA were 15.3. So he's an average ARCA driver. He's not even like a decent ARCA driver because usually when the ARCA drivers come over here, like you look at them like, oh, they average a top 5 finish. Well, yes, in ARCA. So I don't have a ton of high hopes for him, but AMM Racing is the Tommy Joe Martin one. I think, Tommy Joe Martin has a good, and his team has a good eye for talent. And I think Christian Rose can go in here and he is so much better than probably 5 or 7 of the trucks ahead of him. Um, Based on like had top 15 long run speed, like this truck wasn't great short run speed, but I think that he's not going to get lapped or be lapped down if he avoids like any trouble or accident. I think he can get by a lot of these other drivers back here, and he's he doesn't have a ton of truck experience, but just running the ARCA series, he has more experience in these type of vehicles than like Lemke or some of the other who have been out of it for a while. Some of the other people are just jumping in. So I think Rose definitely has a lot of upside here, starting in 35th. And then Josh Rayum, it could be a start in park also. I think, he and Lemke, they're just trying to field teams to come out here, collect the money for entering and finishing whatever spot they do. And then they'll use the money to go try to compete for better positionings and other tracks. I just don't necessarily think that this is a great track for that program. So I got for you. I know it's a lot of talking, a lot of information, but if you have any questions, put them in the chat below. Or hit me up at Mega Ruler 31 on Twitter or X or whatever we're calling it nowadays. You know what I mean? And just thank you so much for watching these videos. We've had an impressive run over the last 2 months or so. It seems like every single weekend, especially if there's all 3 series, where it's getting like 2,000, 2,500 views between all the videos. The Cup videos are usually getting almost 1,000 views every single week. So appreciate everybody watching. Hopefully I'm helping you. We got some nice tweets and comments out about, the help that we've provided for on the Xfinity video that we posted earlier. So check that out on the channel. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel already, please do so. That helps us. Liking the video helps us, and sharing it with your friends, posting on your Discord, your social media, or whatever, for people that might want to watch it and be helpful with NASCAR DFS, whether it be trucks, Cup, Xfinity. That's why we're doing this. I said, I responded to somebody's tweet today. I appreciate those kind words that, it makes the hours and hours, each week. I mean, it depends on the races and if, how much information, or if it if we're going to have practice and qualifying, or if I have to do all the research and do a speculation video, which we've done, it can be anywhere up to 5, 6, 7, 10 hours of research a week to put together these videos, do the production of the videos and everything. So, but I love doing it, and I'm so thankful that I can do it, and that there's people out there to watch us do it here at FSI DFS. So if you want more information on FSI DFS, you can go to the description of the video. You can sign up for our packages. I'll give you all 3 races for $5 this weekend, and it'll actually should wrap around into next weekend, because it's actually a physical week from when you started to sign up. It's not just like this weekend, then we cut you off. And for a month, it's like $15. So really, really cheap, very affordable. We're here to keep the lights on, not to try to rob you blind for information that we're giving you. So again, appreciate everybody watching. I will try to get the cup video out tonight or early tomorrow morning. So good luck in your contest. You know how to get a hold of me if you have any questions. Hope you're having a great weekend, and I'll see you next time.